Howdy, y'all, and welcome to another Archeryshack Shop Talk. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
This is number 145.
Quick disclaimer, I just got to the computer to put this together and noticed the autofocus did not lock on to our faces. So this entire podcast is blurry. I'm sorry. Listen to it, but you might not want to watch it. Back to the podcast.
Thank y'all for tuning in with us. We have got some new bow releases to talk about.
Yep.
Primarily, everybody's talking about Mathews.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, we're not a Mathews dealer, but I try to let people understand we try to shoot people straight. Like if there's a bow we don't stock or we're not a dealer with and we like it, we still say we like it. It's not just, So anyway, we have not shot it yet because it just came out. But I do like the idea of the rubber sort of down the middle of each split limb. So it's got 8 limbs on it. I mean, I don't see how that could hurt. The one thing I'm seeing, and I'm sure y'all have too, is it basically looks just like the bows from the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But people just got to realize that's what you get when they come out with a bow every year. Like, back in a long time ago when it was every 2 or 3 years, a big bow came out from each company. You could make some changes. But, I mean, basically from everybody that's released so far, Mathews, Bowtech, Hoyt, I mean, it's just tiny little tweaks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know what to say to expect, but Prime hadn't released yet. We got a few clues of what it's going to be, but again, as far as looking at it, it's probably going to look very close to the same. So, I think people expect a complete
overhaul,
redo every single year, and it just can't happen because there's so many, I would imagine from what I've talked to these companies, they release and then really starting early part of the year into the spring, they're throwing, putting ideas together for new bows, and then by the summer they've got some prototypes, and then they got to start getting them ready. I would imagine we're always on the criticizing them end, but it would be a pain in the butt to kind of get caught up in the summer, but then be like, well, now we got to start ramping for the next bow and release. So I don't know.
And it's crazy. I watched a little bit of the Chris B. Hit that Phase4 build.
Yep.
He's had it since August.
Yep.
And I'm like, which I know a lot of like sponsored shooters, they like, especially on the hunting side.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of big people like Levi or whoever, they'll shoot a deer, and if it's the first part of the year, it'll just be them and the deer. You won't see the bow because they can't show it yet. But but yeah, I know last year I think he did a video and had went to the factory in like I think it was July, and they basically just had the right off the machine non-painted prototypes, and he shot them or whatever. But I wouldn't want to be. I guess you would have to be, and Mathews has said this, you'd have to be several years ahead so that it didn't jump up on you and you'd be like, oh God, now what are we going to do? So I wouldn't want to be in that boat.
And it also, like that, I wonder how far along, like, okay, so they just released 2023s. They've probably already got 2024s in prototype production.
Years ago, Matt McPherson was in an article I read. This might have been even as far back as Bucks and Bass, and he said they were between 3 and 4 years ahead at any given time of what they were going to do. So that's crazy. And imagine, I know people sign the NDAs and all that, but if one person quit Mathews and leaked whatever to another company, that's huge. Yeah. And I know archery's not as big as other things, but man, that would be big. So I don't know how all that goes down. Then you got smaller companies, I won't name any names, but just from what they've done and we've seen them do, I think they're just flying by the seat of their pants like, oh God, we're barely caught up. Let's just, hey Billy, just give that machine a twister. That's perfect. That looks good. It's like, okay, this is the X7321 this year or whatever, So anyway, I wouldn't want to be on that end of things. But anyway, the Mathews bows, I like that. The stabilizer, here's what I said about the stabilizer. What is it, like a $700 or something rig they've been come out with?
I think
stabilizers.
I think just the one bar is $250. I think.
I like that you can let it in and out, but I told somebody, I said, that's a lot of money. I said, but we thought a lot of other stuff that's now common was a lot of money. I said, I wouldn't be surprised 2 or 3 years. It's just common. Hey, that's what they call it. You know what I mean? So
Well, and somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was, but, the new Phase 4, it still has a standard stabilizer bushing in it. But how much further down the road that, Mathews has got the bridge lock now with the stabilizers, they're making the bridge lock dovetail mounts on sights. How much longer is it before Mathews says, okay,
this is our way, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to run our stabilizer, you've got to run our sight, this bridge lock sight mount and stuff like that.
I don't know. And that'll be, for them, probably good and bad. Because you figure, I'm just throwing out numbers, but let's say 20 or 30% of people's like, hell with it, I'm buying everything Mathews.
Yep.
Then you got some people in the middle that could go either way. Then you got the people, no, I'm going to keep what I got, or I'm going to stick to the normal stuff or whatever. But as we go further on, like you say, who's just going to be like, screw it? Or maybe Mathews is hoping some other companies will do what they're doing so they can pay them royalties. I don't know. But
I don't either.
It works, though. I mean, Mathews has got the name. Most people just go with the flow, so you can't argue with.
I would like to play with the bridge lock stabilizers before I do say, yeah, they suck or anything, because I don't know. I ain't put my hands on them. I'm like the rest of y'all. I watched the Chris B, the Lancaster. Yep. What's the other guy with Podium Archery? MFJJ?
Something like that.
Something like that. I'd like to put my hands on it and feel it and just see how it does. My biggest thing would be, would it vibrate? Well, there's not going to be a whole lot of vibration. Let's just say, is it going to work loose on you?
Yeah.
That's like my big thing. Will it work loose?
Yeah. But the one thing I like is you can adjust. Like you could, let's say you change your sight and be like, oh, my balance is different. You could let that thing in or out. I mean, that's a good idea.
It is.
I don't know. I'm trying to become better at, like, used to something like that change, and I'm like, nope. But then in 2 or 3 years, it's the norm, and then I'm like, well, hell, just like me and you both, the limb-driven dropaways, we were like, hell no, and now it's like, that's the best thing going, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get out of that so set in stone, whatever, but.
Well, look at Prime with when they went from all the, from the time we picked them up around the Synergy hybrid year to the CT, the Logic, the CTs, the Blacks and Nexus, dual track cam, bam, 2022, it's a single track cam. We didn't know what to think.
Yep.
So.
And it turned out to be great.
Yeah.
So.
I do like the weight system that they've got. No more, screwing them down to thread. They just kind of interlock and you tighten one bolt up and it locks them in, I think. I kind of like that pretty good.
And then Hoyt, I hadn't looked a ton into Hoyt, but I know just a few changes. I think I seen one of their advertisements talking about speed, and I think it was like a 340 something IBO. So that's where everybody's at. You know what I mean? It's just like we're here. So
I don't know if they released a carbon bow. I know they released a speed bow.
I hadn't looked.
Me neither.
If y'all know, but we'll probably look, but put it in the comments. But or that might be a later release, or there's a lot of, probably in the next, I'd say 2 weeks, we'll have shot probably one of the Mathews and this, that, and other as people start bringing them in. But it's not that we do or don't want to carry Mathews. We're just too close to another dealer. That's why we don't have Mathews. We get a lot of calls. We work on them. We do everything to them. We just are not a dealer, so we can't sell them, of course. But that's the reason, if you're wondering.
And we can't get the parts and stuff like that.
If you needed a module or something. Now, usually not new ones, but older ones, if there's something readily available, I can snag off eBay or something for somebody and help them out. And we already like restringing the bow, I'll do it. But something new, I'm just like, just run over there and get it. So but that's the Mathews deal. Bowtech, we don't have any of the new Bowtechs yet. It's sort of a weird, I don't want to open up a can of worms, but sort of a weird deal. Became a Bowtech dealer last year and ordered some, and then the rep called and said he was coming by with the new ones, and we have heard crickets, so we'll see what happens there. Again, I ain't going to go on a big rant because I don't know yet, but I thought he would have been here a month ago. So anyway.
And, I mean, we understand if stuff happens, because we don't, we don't talk to our reps on a hourly or daily basis.
Right.
I think most of the time we may talk to a rep maybe once every 2-3 months, unless it's we got something warranty wise, or I had seen like Prime, for example. We hadn't talked to our rep since he come by with the bow right when they released it. I had seen in a Prime group on Facebook something about the string stopped shearing off. So I called him up and said, it's like, hey man, I said, I don't know if you've heard anything, but I've kind of seen this on the, Facebook group. And I said, I understand, this. And he said, what it is he said, it's people, he said, from what he has heard from shops is people was hammering really hard on that back wall, and it was shearing it.
Breaking the limb stop off.
Yeah, breaking the limb stop. And he said, but normally he said, it's, they're not, every single one they produced did not do that. It was just on a few. And he said from what he can tell, it's just people really hammering on that back wall.
Yep.
And, stuff. But other than that, we don't talk to our reps like once every 2-3 months unless it's a warranty issue.
I try to treat our reps like I want to or would want to be treated. Like I don't want a guy calling me every week or every 2 or 3 days. Just like, I just don't, I usually will text or call if we need something.
Or, shoot an email or something like that.
But anyway, in the particular situation we're talking about, basically we had a phone conversation and it was like, hey, basically here's $5,000, come by and show us the bows and we'll get some, and then crickets. So I don't know where that's going to lead, but we'll see. We'll keep you updated.
Yep. I want to shoot the target bows. I am very intrigued.
The Bowtech target bows.
Yeah.
What about Expedition? Like I don't think about them often. I just thought about it because that guy brought one in a while ago. Yeah. Have they released anything or?
I don't think so. And that's like Athens.
Yeah.
I don't never really think about Athens.
Yep. I don't either. The let's see, we got Prime coming basically in very, very end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about who else are we missing. I don't know if PSE's doing anything else or different or what they basically told us 2 years ago.
They were
instead of just dumping a bunch of bows like in October, we're going to
stagger
trickle them out, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
But we hadn't heard of anything as of right now that they're doing. Let's think. I don't know what else. I hadn't heard anything crossbow wise. I don't know if Raven will do something or something like that. This year big. Last year was sort of big for them. They come out with some little. I mean, it was kind of the same, but a little different models and all that.
Well, the big thing was that R500.
Yeah, that's still a problem if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I can't remember what the problem was, but they had something that
at first they couldn't source some part, then they had them blowing up because of something, then this, then that. I don't know. I'd be scared to buy one right now.
Yeah.
But I know that it was like roadblock,
yeah.
And I seen in some of the groups like 20 of them that had exploded, and it's like, good Lord. They were already pushing the envelope. It's like, how much further are you going to push it till you kill somebody? But
and let's throw a disclaimer out there. We're in these groups on Facebook. Probably most of y'all are in some of these groups. We don't know the story behind all this.
Yeah.
It could have been user error. It could have been, actual
most
bow
of the
error.
Ravens that we work on that's blowed up is a guy that hadn't changed the string in a long, or not, but he's not paying attention to the string and it just blows up. That's what usually happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot get through people's heads how much tension and torque and power is in these little bitty machines.
Yeah.
And they just shoot them until it kills their dog or whatever. So, like you say, it could just be that. I don't know, but
I don't know, but
we'll scope it out this year at the show and see let you know what we find out. I know 10 Point's doing a lot of cool stuff, but I don't hear as much about 10 Point.
I don't either.
I hear a lot about Raven, very little about 10 Point. Like Black Eagle arrows, I just seen a box sitting there. They hadn't come out with a new arrow since the Revelation a couple of years ago. Like as far as a hunting arrow, it's probably time for them to do something.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard anything, and I know they sent a price list probably 3 weeks ago, and it didn't have no new arrows on it. So that tells me probably not, unless it's a late deal.
I don't either. And, you know, we've talked about this in the shop. Customers come in, and especially with the new bow release, you know, like the bow companies, I think, have hit a brick wall. You know, they're just tweaking riser cutouts.
It's crazy because there were years where it's like, wow, this is a big change. And they got 5 or 10 feet per second. And now it's like we've hovered at that 340, roughly at that 340 mark, give or take a little bit.
Yeah.
For quite a while now.
Yeah.
Then we kind of got the elite shootability stuff, and then everybody started kind of making them different draw cycles and more comfortable and all this, but no real speed change. And it's just like, we're here.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. What if, to break the barrier, they have to do something that's like, that we ain't gonna like? Like, what if I'm just talking out of my head, but what if they had to run a cable like an old 09 or something through the grip, and it have like a mechanical box that helps pull the string faster, something crazy like that, to where we're going to be like, no. But then 3 years later, everybody's doing it. Like, what if it's something like that? I hope it's not.
Yeah.
But what if it is? Or what if it's got 3 cams on it? Or what if it's... Mm-hmm. And honestly, though, but it's going to take something like that probably to get past where we're at, because I feel like you said, for...
4 years now.
Probably more like 8 or 10 almost. Like, it's kind of been, we're about at the same place. You know what I mean?
I've said, y'all can go back and find them. I don't know how many times I said it. I figured somebody would have one IBOing at 400 feet per second.
I did too.
I don't know how well you could shoot it.
Yeah.
The closest one that I thought you could shoot comfortably was the Lawless by Obsession that year. You know, it had a 4 or 5 inch brace height,
like 5 or something, and I don't know. I mean, I honestly thought it would have been PSE because they kept doing the Omen and the full throttle and this and that, and then it's like they slowed them down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I mean, they come out with the Expedite that time.
Yep.
And it was a pretty quick bow.
I think it was 360 if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Not that we want speed bows, but I just feel like that's one of the next steps. Is to get over 400 feet per second. But I don't know. I mean, what if it's another overdraw system somehow, and we start shooting 20-inch arrows or 24-inch arrows again to make it that fast? I mean, it could be anything.
It could be. But you know, we talked about crossbows. You know, kind of pushing the limits on being safe. I think if you start getting into that 400 feet per second on the bow, we're probably going to be sitting here on the podcast if they do it and like, I don't know, this is kind of pushing the limit. So, but I think Hoyt released a speed bow that was 350 this year, 350 feet per second, I think.
I'll have to look up the specs.
I can't remember.
About the only specs I've looked at before we have done this was some of the Mathews that came out, and of course a lot of people's talking about it.
Yep.
But a lot of people, you know how the internet is, they're bitching because it looks the same and all this, but I'll be curious to shoot one. I mean, typically, Mathews is going to put out a good product. I mean, typically, the top bow companies are all going to put out a good product that's not crazy. I mean, the one that took the big step this year was Bear.
Yeah.
That
Execute,
like, when the rep brings it in, it's kind of like, here we go. Shot it, and I was like, let me shoot this again. I was like, I could put this up against other bows, and where in the past the top end Bear's got a little something off, you know, it's got a little vibration or whatever. This is not a big deal once you deck it out, but like there's something there. Finally, it's kind of like this will play.
Yeah.
So I'll give them credit where credit is due for that. And it looks good.
Well, that Elite Omnia, you know, it's pushing some.
Yeah, I like that.
It's pushing some speed to be what it is. I think I seen somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. I think Brad sent it to me. He had went and shot one.
The little stuff, you know, is what's going to kind of be the new thing for a while, though. Like little draw length adjustments and you can shift the cams and all that sort of thing, like some of these companies are doing. I'm surprised it hadn't become more of an industry standard of the whole being able to move the cams or limb pockets left and right. I know a lot of companies are doing it, but not everybody.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, I wish all of them would get away from shims.
It'd be so simple to be able to just stick a wrench in that thing and, give it a little twisty. But the, I don't know, and if y'all know anything about this, put it in the comments. I had heard that some of the elite, a couple of years ago, some of the elite engineers had went to work for Bear, and that's sort of why you're seeing I guess you'd say a better Bear high-end bow, but I don't know any inside information on that. I don't know if y'all do or not.
He didn't tell me what draw length it was or anything, but that Omnia is a 32-inch axle-to-axle, 6-inch brace height, and he shot it through the chronograph, 3 errors, 339, 339, and 341. So I don't know what it IBO's at or anything like that, but, I mean, he's probably a 29, 30-inch draw, and if that's 70 pounds, not knowing exactly what error he's shooting through it, I mean, that's pretty good speed for a hunt bow.
That ain't bad. I just wish people would figure out, I guess is basically you need to practice. Like, I was thinking about this when you were talking to the guy that was out front a while ago. He's talking about shooting deer at 80 and 100 yards, and we were just like, no, dude. Too many people want to just pick a bow up, hadn't shot in a year, put 3 or 4 arrows through it, take it to the woods, and then you get into like the ethics of like, if I can't hit a pie plate at 20, why should I go potentially wound an animal? You know what I mean? So like, I just wish more people would put a little more time in, practice, let's get good at this, but then understand it's going to take, I don't care if I'm shooting 350 feet per second, it's going to take so long for that arrow to get to 50 yards or 60 yards or whatever. You got a lot of people come in, if such and such walks out at 110 yards, I'm going to send it. That's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I understand what you're saying, but there are people that actually do that, and it's just like, that's just dumb. Why would you wound a big deer that may come back tomorrow at 20 yards and you can shoot it because you're going to send it or whatever? I don't guess we've ever had anybody come in and be like, I sent one at 100 yards and took down a big buck. Woo!
Yeah.
It's all we hear is, them broadheads are junk. Hit it right in the heart. It didn't even kill it. And we're just like, yeah.
We get them stories. And I mean, and there's a difference too. I like practicing at longer distance. I really do.
Well, it makes sense. You practice at 80 or 100, but then when you got to make a 40-yard shot, it's a chip shot. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you just walk out there and practice a couple shots at 20, and then you're shooting out of a tree stand at 37 yards, and then what happens?
Yeah, I understand. Like, I love the TAC events. Because it's something different. But for people out west, I talked to a guy from Arizona. He had a PSC Expedite, and he was like, man, he said, these deer out here, he said, if you get within 70 yards of them, he said, that is the biggest deal. He said, we have to, with a bow, he said, we have to take 80, 90, and 100-yard shots with them.
Well, I've seen like these, and I don't know anything about hunting out west, but
I don't either.
Just from what I watched, like pronghorn and stuff out there at 70, 80 yards and shooting them, and I kind of understand that, but it's just for as far as the southeast, like 20, 25 yards is your average deer shot and that sort of thing. Don't do something stupid. The guy was talking to TJ a while ago about shooting deer at 150 yards with a crossbow, and it's like, this ain't even a conversation. You know what I mean? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, you could hit the target at 150 yards, but do you know how long it's going to take from the time you pull the trigger for that thing? Even I don't care if it's a R500 or what it is.
It's got some flight time.
Too much time.
Yeah.
If we were Native Americans and our family hadn't ate in a week, I understand. But that's nobody's situation. This is not it. So I don't get it. I never will get it. Like, to me there's a big part of ethics that come into some shots, and I always, I guess, value the animal's life or whatever enough to not do something stupid like that. And don't get me wrong, I've shot deer and not found them, but it was all, 20, 30, 40-yard shots that just something crazy happened, and that's what happens with bow hunting. And then I guess, you can get into the can of worms of, well, why do we even take a bow? Why don't we just take a gun? And I know all that. I ain't going to go down that road. But I'm just saying, taking a 80 or 100-yard shot through a bunch of limbs, and you've never shot that far except for at Granny's house across the road and over the fence, like, that's just stupid.
Well, and and I'll tell people this in the shop. I preach this. If somebody ever told you that they've made a bad shot, that they've never made a bad shot on a deer, I ain't gonna believe it. Yeah. I mean, I know my equipment. I shoot my equipment. I know my effective range. There's stuff that happens. I killed one last year. Y'all seen it. I made a bad shot on that deer. Yes, I could have blamed it on 100 different things, but guess what? When I released that air, I did not see that the deer had took a step forward, and it put my shot back. Okay, it was a bad shot. I didn't know it. I thought I missed the deer. I'm going to admit it. I made a bad shot.
Nobody else will, though. It's like people come in, it's the broadhead's fault. My air's not fast enough. My air's not heavy enough. It's like, good God, what other excuses can you make here, Cat? And that's where you go down the road of, like, let's do X, Y, and Z as, like, backups. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know this broadhead may not penetrate great because I've tested it. I'm going to go to this other broadhead that I know, even if whatever, it don't open or whatever happens, it's still going to do good, stuff like that.
I mean, I've made bad shots. I think everybody's made a bad shot. I mean, good Lord. Even the people on TV that everybody thinks are, these perfect bow hunters, I mean, they make bad shots. Now, will they show them on TV?
Nah.
I don't know. I'm not. And, I mean, make bad shots. I make bad shots on a 3D target. I mean, am I going to lie about making a bad shot on an animal?
I seen a couple deer killed today. Sam Marcingill killed a good one. Get him, Sammy. Who else sent me a picture? Oh, Velez shot one. That first thing this morning, I think he texted me and sent me a video of it. I would put it on here, but YouTube may
take us down.
But anyway, it's prime time and right now where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So good times. What else? I think we've basically just talked about all the bow stuff. We may next week's Thanksgiving, so I don't know if we'll have a podcast. And if you're local and you're seeing this, I think we're going to close Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because for some reason, when we've tried to open for Black Friday and do all these Black Friday sales and whatever,
it's crickets.
It's never anything big. So I think we're just going to take a couple days off and do Thanksgiving stuff and hunt or whatever, and then be back. So that's our plan as of now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need anything, let us know. Our Bear Adapt video did good. Had a lot of people go into that. Basically, you can go to archershack.com, click on
bow build
or buy a bow or whatever it is at the top. Say, hey, here's what I'm looking for, and we can kind of get back with you and say, here's what we got, here's what we can get, here's some suggestions, and it worked out pretty cool. So I think it's going to work. But we'll get off here. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Y'all be safe and eat a lot of turkey.
Oh, yeah.
See y'all.
See y'all.